I used to read the Bible with a kind of quiet awe, as if I were holding an ancient contract. There's one passage I've never forgotten, Exodus 21. It says that if a man harms a pregnant woman and she loses her child, he must pay a fine. But if the woman herself is killed, the punishment is life for life. That simple distinction says everything. The unborn was sacred, but it wasn't yet equal before the law. Life mattered, but there were degrees, nuance, morality with context. Now, look at America today. Millions of Christians insist abortion is murder, an absolute evil, the ultimate sin. But in the same breath, they defend greed, cruelty, and war. Something has gone terribly wrong with American Christianity. So how did we get here? How did a faith built on compassion and humility become a tool of political power? This is the story of how the church lost its soul. In the 1970s, evangelical leaders weren't talking about abortion. They were angry about desegregation. The government had begun stripping tax exemptions from whites-only Christian schools. And that hit them where it hurt. Enter Paul Weyrich, a political strategist. He saw an opportunity. He told Jerry Falwell and others, "You can't rally the nation around segregation anymore." But abortion, that could work, and it did. By 1979, the moral majority was born, and Falwell declared that the idea that religion and politics don't mix was invented by the devil. From that moment, the church became a political machine. But behind it all was something even bigger: money. Decades earlier, in the 1940s, corporate America had already discovered how useful religion could be. Big companies like Sun Oil and General Motors funded a movement called spiritual mobilization. Its message was simple: capitalism is godly, government is evil. Reverend James Fifield, their chosen preacher, said that freedom under God meant freedom from taxes and regulation. He told pastors to see profit as divine reward and poverty as personal failure. It was brilliant propaganda. By the 1980s, that message had taken over. Ronald Reagan looked at the evangelicals and said, "I know you can't endorse me, but I want you to know that I endorse you." The crowd roared, and so began the gospel of power, a faith that blessed the rich, condemned the poor, and sold salvation as self-interest. By the 1990s, the church was no longer preaching sacrifice. It was preaching success. The prosperity gospel took over the airwaves, promising that wealth was proof of God's favor. If you sow, you shall reap, stopped being a moral truth. It became a business model. Pastors turned into CEOs, congregations turned into consumers. And the poor, the very people Jesus spoke for, were told their poverty was a lack of faith. Religion had become capitalism wearing a cross. Then came Donald Trump, the final product of this long manipulation. A man who never asked God for forgiveness became the chosen vessel of America's evangelicals. They called him Cyrus, a pagan king used by God to restore Israel. Trump didn't preach faith, he preached power, and the church loved him for it. But the younger generation didn't. They could see the contradictions. They saw pastors defending lies, justifying cruelty, and trading grace for influence. Today, church attendance is collapsing. Among Americans under 30, nearly half no longer identify with any religion. They didn't lose faith in God. They lost faith in the people who claimed to speak for Him. The internet did, what no government ever could. It broke the monopoly of the pulpit. Now anyone can open a Bible, read the Hebrew or Greek, and see what the text actually says. They can watch debates, study history, and recognize how political Christianity was built. And what they're finding is hard to unsee. They're realizing that for decades, their faith was used to sell power, to make them loyal, obedient, and afraid. What's dying now isn't belief in God. It's belief in the institutions that sold God for profit. When I read the Quran, I found something that echoed Exodus. A sheikh told me that the soul enters the human being around 120 days after conception. Before that, it's life, but not yet personhood. Even here, there was nuance, compassion, understanding. Ancient faiths recognized that morality has layers. Modern religion erased that nuance. It replaced it with slogans, campaigns, and fear. But faith, real faith, was never about control. It was about humility, about learning to see beyond ourselves. The tragedy of American Christianity isn't that it lost power. It's that it confused power for faith. It built an empire but forgot its soul. What's dying now isn't God. It's the machinery that tried to sell him. And maybe, just maybe, when that machine finally collapses, something sacred might grow again. If you found this reflection meaningful, give it a like and share it with someone who still believes faith should mean something more than politics. Subscribe for more deep dives into the culture, history, and the future of the Western world. And for full political analysis, visit westernrelations.com. Thank you for watching.